Guys, you know I love Magic Spoon. It's low in sugar and it still tastes great. My kids love it, and I can feel good about giving it to them. So if you love cereal, just click the link below and get some Magic Spoon cereal today. You can build your very own variety box and use my code Chael. That's going to get you $5 off. You can choose from the best-selling cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, cookies and cream, maple waffle, blueberry muffin, and cinnamon roll. But wait, Magic Spoon is now adding Honey Nut to their permanent collection, so be sure to add Honey Nut to your custom box and try it out. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. That means if you don't like it, for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Click on the link below. Use the code Chael for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Chael to save $5 off your order today, and be sure to add the new Honey Nut to your custom box. Also, for my Canadian and British fans, Magic Spoon is now shipping to Canada and the UK. Oliveira and Khabib had a little bit of a back and forth. Now, guys, I got to start at the very beginning here because I've never seen Oliveira like this. Oliveira is a bona fide star. That is crazy talk had I said that to you last year. That is ridiculous had I said that to you 2 years ago. I mean, what's the difference? He's not any better. He's doing the same thing in the same organization in front of the same crowd. It's not just all of a sudden he just got better. Tony Ferguson gave him an opportunity to get into the upper echelon. Took that opportunity. I mean, he moved from there. In all fairness, his skills are the same. But this is what we understand, right? It doesn't work until it works. People that love to say, oh, I'm a purist. I don't care about the drama. I don't care about the talk. I just want to see the fight. Where were you? Where you been the last 8 years? Because Charles Oliveira's been here. You couldn't even put him on pay-per-view, and if you did put him on pay-per-view, you didn't waste the ink to advertise him. Now, he's got a number based on the fight with Gaethje. We are told, and nobody has disputed, it was the highest drawing event of the year. A year in which saw a grudge match between Covington and Masvidal. A year in which saw the greatest heavyweight storyline, champion versus champion, Hogan versus Ward, that we've ever told, and these guys are number one, Oliveira. But I've never seen Oliveira talk this much before a fight. I don't know how to interpret it. I don't know what has him angry, but I will tell you this. He's not trying to talk himself into something. We know the difference. We know the difference every time when a guy's trying to sell something. When a guy trying to get a fight. Right? The way a guy will talk before he has a bout agreement is very different, and it should be. The way you pick a fight as the way you prepare and or promote a fight, they're very different things, or at least they should be. We have never seen Oliveira like this. And not for nothing, I mean, I've heard people come out and say, yes, there's a new Oliveira. He's really trying to sell the fight. Well, I don't know his personal business. That's true. But I do know that he is not supposed, per a contract, per a boilerplate contract, which everybody has, he is not supposed to get participation in this fight. He is not the champion. He is not defending. I realized that that could have been corrected, and it was. It was overseen, and a gift was given to him. But I'm going to operate on the assumption of what would be good through the history of time and for absolutely everybody else, which is he is not in on the pay-per-view. He will not be until he reclaims the championship. I only bring that to you because, I mean, that takes right off the table your idea that he's trying to sell a fight. And it brings you back to, well, what is he doing? Because he's sincere. He's not trying to get in anybody's head, including his own. Guys will come out and use the media as a way of bringing the laws of the universe, putting something out there, having it come back. They'll use it to talk themselves. They'll try to convince you while they're convincing themselves. That's not what this is. Not to mention, that's way too early. But Khabib was weighed in. And Charles Oliveira came out. Within yesterday and today, he came out and said, these guys are arrogant. Nobody hits harder than me. Nobody can grapple the way I can grapple. And Khabib came out and said, hold on. All we've ever said is we're going to finish you and we're going to finish you early. But that isn't an arrogance. We believe in our style and what we can do, and we're preparing because we know it's you. Khabib's saying this isn't an arrogance. We're buckled down. And he said, I also don't believe that Charles is angry. I believe he started to feel the pressures of the fight. Now, that was Khabib's stance. But I don't know how focused and closely Khabib has followed the words of Charles Oliveira, which come in a different language, get interpreted to English, are not what Charles said in the first place, and then get relayed to Khabib. I mean, it's one of these things where Khabib, as close as he is to this, would reasonably be lost in translation in comparison to us. We read it, we stay very close, and I feel as though Charles is being consistent. I also don't think this is the time to go out and be doing those things. I think Charles is pissed off. I think Charles is pissed off that he is... I almost said champion. I almost fell for it myself, didn't I? Was the champion, hasn't lost. When we put it that way, he was the champion and he hasn't lost, and he's a 3-1 underdog. I think that upsets him. I think that insults him. Charles makes a very good point. He hits really hard. He makes a very good point. He grapples very well. He makes a very good point. He's a big guy. He checks a lot of boxes, but what will you guys do with that? Right? That's Charles. That's Charles feeling close to it. He's got every right. What would you guys do with that? If I was to ask you a question, who is the greatest fighter of all time? If I was to ask you who the greatest fighter is right now, I've already seen your guys' answer. There is a champion and he's got a name. His name's Charles Oliveira. I understand that, but if I said the greatest of all time, obviously you got a problem because there's a guy named Khabib who is 29-0, and that's not the most impressive about Khabib. He was a world champion. That also is not the most impressive. The single most impressive stat that Khabib Nurmagomedov has is he is the most dominant fighter of all time, which is provable. He has more 10-8 rounds than anybody in combat history that includes boxing. That's dominance. And particularly when you're fighting the best of the best, you're fighting the top 10 guys, top 5 guys, the number 1 contenders, the world champions. When you're doing that and you have more 10-8 rounds than anybody in history, come on, that's impressive, but I have to bring that detail up. Because some of you, and you're not wrong, I'm not scolding you. This is what the greatest of all time is. It's a discussion, it's nothing more. But some of you will always take it to the point of who's more dynamic, who has finished fights on the ground and on their feet. Because whoever that is the better martial arts. There's an argument there. I don't agree with it, but I do see the point. There's 2 fights in common, Charles and Khabib. They are Justin Gaethje, they are Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira beat Dustin Poirier 61 seconds faster than Khabib did. And he beat Justin Gaethje 2 minutes and 34 seconds faster than Khabib did. That would be very strong arguments towards Charles. But here's another point, which is the one that I just brought up speaking of the dominance. Sure, Khabib took a little bit more time, but Khabib was also never in trouble in any of those fights. Charles Oliveira was almost defeated in both of those fights. I don't know what you want to do with it. Maybe you don't care. I don't care if a guy gets knocked down as long as he gets up. I'll listen to you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just speaking to the idea that you have very different fighters here. If we start to get Khabib inserted in this thing, I mean, if you're worried about pay-per-view buys, come on. You got the guy who now has credit as the leading pay-per-view star, at least for the year. And if you start to get Khabib poking his nose into this thing, that'll be all Islam needs. Whether you guys are on board with Makhachev or not, you clearly believe in him. He's a 3-1 favorite. You're quick to post things online. Well, if you're online, slide on over to DraftKings and make a bet. Then I'll know that you really mean it. It's one of those things. You can kind of hold your feet to the fire here. You want to say there's a champion, his name is Charles Oliveira. Well, he's a 3-1 dog. Go place your bet. You haven't done that yet. So herein lies the problem. Herein lies the problem with who really is sincere. Who really is right. Everything that Charles Oliveira has said about himself is true. He has not embellished it. But if we were to look at Islam, we can tie a lot of those characteristics of Khabib right back to him. We can. That domination, that not being in trouble, that knowing how to protect himself, closing range quickly, getting the opponent to a safe position, advancing from there. Stylistically, they're very, very in line. And if Charles talks about, I hit harder than anybody, well, Mike Tyson hits much harder than both of you put together. But if an MMA fighter was to take him down, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. How hard you hit doesn't make a whole lot of difference unless you're in the hitting contest. And they might be. But as I hear about how great the ground is and I hear how dangerous the stand-up is, we're still missing the key, which is the in-between. It has been the great divider from the beginning of time. It has been the great equalizer since this sport began. The in-between. That's the hard stuff. It's the hardest to learn. And cardio effort and energy-wise, it's the hardest to do. There is nothing more difficult in a fight than getting a takedown. Nothing you will do. You go for a takedown and you don't get it, you're changed. You're now stuck on your feet where you didn't want to be, which is why you went for the takedown, and now you have less energy. It's one of those things. It's so tiring, so grueling, and so hard to do. Many guys overlook it, including greats. Wrestling is a very hard thing to learn, guys. Because if you did not do that as a child and now you've got to do it as an adult, where are you going to go? I mean, ask yourself that question. You're an adult. You want to go learn wrestling. Where are you going to do it? You go find a boxing gym. You go find a kickboxing gym. You go find a jiu-jitsu gym. You will not find in the United States of America a wrestling gym. They don't have wrestling gyms. They have wrestling programs. And those are all attached to an educational system. So now you could go find a junior high. You could go find a high school. You could go find a college, but you're a grown man. So now you're going to have to humble yourself as a grown man and go in there with children, and the children are going to kick your ass. I mean, I'm sharing with you, that's the problem. That's why an MMA guy would love to convince you it's about standing up and being on the ground. They'll never tell the truth, no matter how good they'll never tell the truth that it's the in-between. The in-between single-handedly is what made Khabib 29-0 world champion and the most dominant fighter in the sport. It is single-handedly what won George St. Pierre every single fight but one. It is single-handedly why Brock Lesnar could walk in with limited experience and ass full of steroids and get himself a world championship. He understood the in-between. When I hear guys giving breakdowns, they keep leaving that out. They keep not talking about it. And I just want to share with you guys why it's so difficult. If you didn't grow up doing that, it's very hard to find somewhere you can go. And it's very hard to take a guy who's a main event and a pay-per-view and he's on posters and he's rich and have him get his ass kicked in a side room by children. But that's the guy, that's who's doing wrestling. You don't go meet a 30-year-old man that's doing wrestling. You've never seen a tournament somewhere that a 30-year-old can enter? And for you aficionados of wrestling, don't try to correct me on the senior level. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. So it's just one of those spots. Charles is not wrong. He's not wrong in his assessment. He's not wrong in the people that he's knocked out or he's even put down in comparison to his soon-to-be opponent. He's not wrong in the color of his belt once they get to the ground in jiu-jitsu in comparison to his opponent. He's not. But he is leaving out the part that matters the most, and that is the in-between.